It was crazy. The going with the car was more dangerous than climbing itself.
You just got the National Geographic Adventure of the Year distinction. How do you feel about that?
Flattered. I don't think we climbed for the honors or for the medals. I feel quite intimidated by all these honors because I have a feeling that what we did is nothing extraordinary. Every day there are mountain rescue services or firemen or many services, and there are people risking their lives every day to save another person's life without any honors, orders, or even raising their pay. It feels pretty strange that this rescue mission we did on Nanga got so much worldwide recognition. I'm not really sure if we really deserve it. It's a kind of sign of modern times, especially that I had geolocalizer, the spot, which shows my GPS position so people could watch live. But again, I used this spot on various expeditions before, and there was only a small group of people following that. And then, one day, the number of people visiting the spot site multiplied by few zeros, I guess. I'm afraid this is the story that's gonna keep repeating itself. I'm not feeling comfortable judging other people's actions in the mountains, but obviously their acclimatization wasn't good enough. And they've chosen super lightweight style, which also comes with some dangers. And their expeditions was pretty extraordinary. They didn't have even base camp. This is the only 8,000 meter peak expedition I've heard of ever that didn't have a base camp. So they were lightweight. They have very minimum gear with them. But I also went for the summit push with minimum acclimatization, which resulted in the troubles. Obviously, what this rescue and the story of Nanga shows us is that in Pakistan, organizing a rescue is a very serious task. It's difficult, and there are no ready solutions for that purpose. Every time you have to go along the same very complicated road to send a helicopter, which means getting permit from the military because they own the helicopters. There is no civil rescue services in Pakistan. So these events in Nanga started again the discussion about how can we develop the safety standards of climbing in Pakistan. But on the other hand, it's also questionable if we should do that, because I'm personally fully aware that climbing in Pakistan is much more dangerous and the possibilities of performing a rescue are limited comparing to Nepal, for example. But I accept it, it's part of the game, and maybe this is something that makes climbing in Pakistan more serious, more challenging, but in the same time more exciting. Well, I have, I guess, still a long way to go to match those big names, but maybe I'm slowly getting there. Climbing was always my passion. I always wanted to be a high-altitude climber, working hard many years to accomplish that, and the quest is still on. But nowadays I feel that I'm just doing my own path and making my own goals. These heroes of my childhood were mostly Himalayan climbers. Mm-hmm. Especially the Polish climber of the 80s that were really strong. I mean, Jerzy Kukuczka, Wojtek Kurtyka, Ryszard Pawłowski or Krzysztof Bielecki. But also foreign climbers, those who were pioneers of alpine style in big mountains like Joe Tasker or Doug Scott, Chris Bonington or Reinhold Messner himself, and later on Jean-Christopher Lafayette or Jean Trollet. I think I could go on. Well, it's a tough question. I don't know really, considering that mountains in the Poland are pretty low. 2,500 meters is the highest peak. But still, you've been in Tatras. So you know the conditions there are pretty tough.
They can be rough.
And the weather is changing incredibly rapidly, much faster than in Alps. We used to say that in Tatras you can have 4 seasons in 1 hour. and it's true. So when you climb in Tatras, you learn very soon to climb in difficult conditions. You learn how to retreat from the wall. So climbing, especially in winter in Tatras, makes you a tough climber, I guess. Also, the Polish specialty in the big mountains is climbing in winter. And again, I think this comes from the specific of Tatras, where in summer we climb in rock climbing shoes and with short sleeve. Whether in winter it gets serious and we need crampons, ice axes, and all the warm clothes we can get. So always in Poland, the winter ascents of particular routes were so much more valued than the summer ones. And we kind of moved that into big mountains. Well, I had a lot of conversations with foraging climbers, and some of them think about this winter climbing in Himalayas as a kind of artificial thing, yeah? And I completely understand the point of view, but from a Polish point of view, it completely makes sense. I think it makes less sense for here, Alps, where anyway, summer or winter, you have snow and ice on the climb. It's just a little bit colder, and even nowadays, some of the routes are safer and better to be climbed in winter than in summer. Which is not necessarily the case in Tatras. In Tatras, it's always harder to climb a route in winter than in summer. It was hard. I must admit it was a hard expedition. Also pretty frustrating because to turn back is not a new thing for me and failure is the part of the game. But then I didn't even have a chance to try on Annapurna, and this is the phase I dreamed about for a long time. I already tried it once and I failed. So I was really focused and really hyped to try the Annapurna Northwest phase, and then we couldn't get past the acclimatization stage. So there's a lesson of being humble in it. I guess we will never stop getting these lessons from the mountains. The acclimatization goal we've chosen, which was Langtang, actually is a pretty serious mountain itself and could be a valuable expedition goal just on its own. And the difficulty was not an issue in our case. The big issue was that there was still a lot of snow after winter, much more than usually at that time of the year in Nepal. The first part of our route was gaining access to the ridge through the snowy couloirs. And those couloirs in snowy conditions were super dangerous. There were constant flow of avalanches on them. So at the beginning we had to wait a bit for the snow to settle. Then we gained the ridge in the wrong place, which cost us wasting of a good weather window and some delay on time. So when we finally got to the ridge in the right place, the weather deteriorated again. And there was this cyclone in Asia, which I believed influenced the weather also in the Langtang region, resulting in wind speed around 100-150 kilometers per hour on the summit. So after this period of strong winds, the weather settled a little bit. So we went for our summit push. That felt good. We went past all the technical difficulties of the route. We just had the snow ridge to get to the summit. But then again, it was terrible snowfall, and we were really worried that we will get cut off from our distance. That even though the snowfall was not that bad on the ridge itself, we knew that once we get to Camp 1, we're gonna have real trouble to get from Camp 1 to our base camp. And we said, okay, this is kind of a trap, and we're doing it for fun, and we don't want to get in any trouble. We don't want to get hurt. So we just resigned. It hurt a little bit less because we followed closely the weather reports from Annapurna, and we knew that there is a lot of snowfall and there is bad conditions on Annapurna itself. So probably, even if we went for Annapurna, we wouldn't have much chances to climb the face anyway. But still, I feel pity that we didn't have the chance to try it. Yeah, being a young kid, I dreamed about 8,000-meter peaks. But when I finally got there, I realized that these 8,000-meter peaks are no longer the mountains I dreamed about. Especially those popular ones are just incredibly crowded with a lot of fixed ropes. And they are as far as, from what I understand by saying alpinists, as one can get. So after my first expedition on 8,000-meter peak in the summer on normal route, which was K2, I said never again, because this is not what I want to do in the mountains. And after my two Annapurna's expeditions, on both of them I wanted to climb pure alpine style, so it meant I had to get acclimatization elsewhere. And for that purpose we climbed first Tilicha Peak, and then on the second expedition we tried to climb Langtang-Lirung. And my impression was that actually those 7,000-meter peaks are much closer to the true alpine climbing, to true mountaineering, than climbing the 8,000-meter peaks. And there are more serious challenge, because from the very beginning you have to find a place for a base camp. And then you have to find a way and place to establish camps. And there is no one else on the mountain working on. What modern times proved in the Himalayas is that if you put enough manpower on any mountain, you can conquer the impossible, because you have these Sherpa teams of 10, 15 skilled climbers who can put 2,000 meters of ropes in one day. And once you put the ropes from the bottom to the summit, it's only a matter of good weather window and having enough oxygen, and you can climb any mountain. But is going on a fixed ropes climbing still? I don't think so. Well, we all know that on the high altitude you have less oxygen. If you get teleported to 8,000 meters, you would live for like few minutes and then you die. So obviously to climb big mountains, you need to get acclimatization. Normally you acclimatize on the mountain you climb, if you climb traditional style. But if you want to go alpine style, that's the different story. And to climb in alpine style, you need to get the acclimatization elsewhere. One of the solutions is the idea to go South America, where you can get acclimatization, especially for winter climbing in the big mountains. On the southern hemisphere, in the same time as summer. So quite easily you can get as high as almost 7,000 meters, which gives you acclimatization good enough to go for 8,000 meter peak. Another idea to climb alpine style big mountains is to get acclimatization on another lower peak. There is always in the back of my head this winter K2 project, and another big dream of mine is to open a new route on 8,000 meter peak alpine style. I think I would like to go back to Annapurna. It's still there waiting for me. And this I tried a few times already and I keep failing, but I'm not gonna give up and I want to try it again. The plan is to get a strong team that has real chances to get to the summit. For me, whether it's within the Polish or international team is a secondary thing, but I can say that Denis is the person I can think of to go for the summit push together, obviously.